What up, everybody? This is your boy Tech G back with another video to help you successfully pass the CompTIA Network Plus N10-007 certification. So let's get into it. In this video, you're going to learn about cloud computing concepts such as the types of cloud services, cloud delivery models, shared resources, rapid elasticity, on-demand self-service, resource pooling, measured services, metered services, off-site email applications, cloud file storage services, virtual application streaming and cloud-based applications, virtual desktops, and virtual NICs. All right, let's talk about the types of cloud services. So cloud computing, this is the on-demand availability of computer system resources, especially data storage, also known as cloud storage, and computing power without direct active management by the user. The term is generally used to describe data centers available to many users over the internet, and cloud computing comes in three main models. You have software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. Let's talk about software as a service. So software as a service, this is a software licensing and delivery model in which software is licensed on a subscription basis and is centrally hosted. Software as a service applications are also known as web-based software, on-demand software, and hosted software. Because software as a service processing is performed at the server, a thin client smartphone or tablet is sufficient to run the software. A browser-based service that does not require a user to download application code to use the service is an example of software as a service, and software as a service allows organizations to get quickly up and running without having to develop or deploy an application. And some examples of software as a service applications are, you have Gmail, which provides access to email services via Google. You have Google Drive that provides access to word processing, spreadsheets, presentations, and various other forms. You have Microsoft Office 365 that provides access to word processing, spreadsheets, presentations, calendars, emails, etc. And then you have something like Salesforce, which is a customer relationship management application. Next, we have platform as a service. So platform as a service, this is a category of cloud computing services that provides a platform allowing customers to develop, run, and manage applications without the complexity of building and maintaining the infrastructure typically associated with developing and launching an app. A developer using platform as a service can concentrate on software features instead of possible issues with server hardware and operating systems. And some of the major platform as a service vendors include Oracle Cloud, Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure, and Salesforce Platform. Next, we have infrastructure as a service, and this is also known as cloud infrastructure services. And this is a form of cloud computing in which IT infrastructure is provided to end users through the internet. Infrastructure as a service is commonly associated with serverless computing. The infrastructure as a service vendor provides the virtualization, storage, network, servers, and allows for customers to utilize or pay for virtual resources when they are needed. This cloud computing model allows for customers to not have to have an on-premise data center and not worry about physically updating or maintaining these components themselves. Most importantly, this model allows for companies to reduce their costs of their network infrastructure by outsourcing storage and computing services to a cloud provider. Infrastructure as a service puts the user in charge of all the software used in a project, from applications and data to the operating system. Infrastructure as a service vendors supply the hardware and network support tools, and the three largest cloud providers at the time of this recording are Amazon Web Services, also known as AWS, Microsoft Azure, and IBM. And here is a handy dandy little chart showing you the cloud computing models and their separations of responsibilities, everything from on-premise to infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Now, if you are still confused about how cloud computing services work, you can use this analogy known as pizza as a service, and hopefully this will make things make sense for you. So the made at home, that will be your on-premise. Then you have the take and bake, that will function as your infrastructure as a service. If you're having pizza delivered to your house, that'll be platform as a service. Or if you have dined out, that will be your software as a service. And everything in green is the things that the vendor of your pizza manages manages, and everything in blue is everything that you manage. So hopefully this will help you guys understand the differences between the various cloud platform services. Next, let's talk about cloud delivery models. So we have private cloud, public cloud, hybrid, and community clouds. So you have a private cloud. This is defined as computing services offered over the internet or a private internal network and only to select users instead of the general public. And private cloud computing is considered to be more secure than public cloud computing. Next, we have the public cloud, and this is defined as computing services offered by third-party providers over the public internet, making them available to anyone who wants to use or purchase them. They may be free or sold on demand, allowing customers to pay only per usage for the CPU cycle, storage, or bandwidth they consume. Then we have the hybrid cloud model, and this is a computing environment that combines public cloud and a private cloud by allowing data and applications to be shared between them. When computing and processing demand fluctuates, hybrid cloud computing gives organizations the ability to seamlessly scale their on-premise infrastructure up to the public cloud to handle any overflow without giving third-party data centers access to the entirety of their data. And then we have a community cloud. And this is a collaborative effort in which infrastructure is shared between several organizations from a specific community with common concerns such as security, compliance, jurisdiction, etc., whether managed internally or by a third party and hosted internally or externally. This is controlled and used by a group of organizations that have shared interests. The costs are spread over fewer users than a public cloud, but more than a private cloud. So only some of the cost savings potential of cloud computing are actually realized. Next, we have shared resources. So in computing, a shared resource is a computer resource made available from one host to other hosts on the computer network. It is a device or piece of information on the computer that can be remotely accessed from another computer transparently as if it were a resource in the local machine. Sharing equipment or data on the network to save costs is the overall reason to implement cloud computing. And there are two main ways to share devices and data over the internet. You can do it by way of an internal cloud or an external cloud. Let's talk about an internal cloud. This is also known as a corporate cloud, and this is a cloud computing service that is implemented within an organization's dedicated resources and infrastructure. Internal clouds apply virtualization mechanisms, shared storage, and network resources to facilitate full control of an organization's cloud computing environment. With an internal cloud, the company gets the virtualization services and flexibility of a commercial cloud, but with the security and reliability that comes from existing within the company's network infrastructure. The costs often associated with an internal cloud typically are higher than utilizing a commercial cloud provider, but there are still reduced costs associated with sharing resources internally. Then we have an external cloud, and this is a cloud solution that exists outside of an organization's physical boundaries. It can be private, public, or community-based as long as it is not located on an organization's property. An external cloud would involve the sourcing of any cloud solution that's available and can be used along with an internal cloud infrastructure or an internal cloud solution for any business need. The services delivered through this kind of setup matches the services offered by a private cloud. However, the primary difference is that all physical resources are essentially external to the organization. Next, we have this concept called rapid elasticity, and this is a cloud computing term for scaling, provisioning, or the ability to provide scalable services. Rapid elasticity allows users to automatically request additional space in the cloud or other types of services. Because of the setup of cloud computing services, provisioning can be seamless for the client or user. In a sense, cloud computing resources appear to be infinite or automatically available. That's very different from older systems where the limits of storage or memory were immediately visible to a user. Next, we have on-demand computing, and this is also known as on-demand self-service. And this is a business computing model in which computing resources are made available to the user on an as-needed basis. Rather than all at once, on-demand computing allows cloud hosting companies to provide their clients with access to computing resources as they become necessary. Gmail is an example of an on-demand self-service where users can access their email online from virtually any device device that connects to the internet anytime that they want. Next, we have resource pooling, and this is an IT term used in cloud computing environments to describe a situation in which providers serve multiple clients, customers, or tenants with provisional and scalable services. These services can be adjusted to suit each client's needs without any changes being apparent to the client or end user. Let's talk about measured service, and this refers to how cloud services are monitored for quality and effectiveness. Measuring service metrics can help drive decisions about what services to adopt and how to calculate pricing of those services. Then we have metered services. So measured service is a term that applies to cloud computing, which is a reference to services where the cloud provider measures or monitors the provisions of service for various reasons, including billing, effective use of resources, or overall predictive planning. Cloud computing services are typically calculated on an hourly basis. Outsourcing by the hour could result in huge savings for customers. And this feature is what has driven the high growth of cloud services. So the main difference between measured services and metered services, you could think of metered services as your power bill or your water bill that gets sent to your house that shows you how much resources you have actually used, which translates into why your bill is extremely high. Measured services is kind of almost similar to thinking of a company asking to get some type of feedback in response to the product or service that they're putting out so that they can make necessary changes and adjustments in order to hopefully provide a better customer experience. So that's the main difference between measured service and metered services. Then we have off-site email applications, and these allow for organizations to pay other companies like Google to manage all the company's email in addition to managing the enormous amounts of data generated by all this email. Google Workspace, which is formerly known as G Suite, this is an example of an off-site email application where organizations can pay Google a monthly subscription fee to essentially get an enhanced version of Google Drive and Gmail. The alternative to off-site email is an on-site email, which is also known as on-premise, which means that an organization is essentially responsible for all the costs associated with purchasing, powering, and maintaining the server equipment, and the company's LAN provides access to the on-site email applications. Then we have cloud file storage services. So this is a method for storing data in the cloud that provides servers and applications access to data through shared file systems. Cloud file storage services utilize cloud-based synchronization where apps on a mobile device send data to the cloud, which can then be downloaded by other mobile apps, web browsers, or by programs running on Windows or Mac. And examples of cloud file storage services are Google Drive, Dropbox, Apple iCloud, and Microsoft OneDrive. Next, we have virtual application streaming, cloud-based applications. So virtual application streaming refers to an on-demand software delivery model that works based on the fact that the majority of applications need just a small portion of their total programming code for operation. The applications are stored and run in the cloud and delivered to the user on almost any device, such as smartphones, tablets, laptops, and desktops. This indicates that there is no need to fully install a program on a client machine. However, portions of it could be offered across the network whenever required. To implement virtual application streaming, a user purchases a license and downloads a small app that identifies the user. The application is presented to the user as if it were locally installed, but only the essentials are brought down to the device. Adobe Creative Cloud is an example of a virtual application, which is also known as software as a service cloud-based application that allows users to utilize apps like Adobe Photoshop without actually installing the program locally to their computer. Next, we have a virtual desktop. So virtual desktop infrastructure, also known as VDI. This is defined as the hosting of desktop environments on a central server or the cloud. It is a form of desktop virtualization as these specific desktop images run within a virtual machine and are delivered to end clients over a network. Those endpoints may be PCs or other devices like tablets or thin client terminals. channels in which the mouse and keyboard inputs are sent across the internet. And then we have a virtual NIC. So a virtual network interface card. This is an abstract virtualized representation of a computer network interface that may or may not correspond directly to a network interface controller. Virtual NICs within a virtual machine behave identical to that of a physical NIC in that it needs a physical MAC address and IP address in order to communicate with other machines. The only real difference between a virtual NIC and a physical NIC is that an administrator can assign specific MAC addresses to a virtual NIC by way of a virtual machine manager, whereas a physical NIC, the MAC address is assigned by the manufacturer. If an admin wants the virtual machine to communicate with other machines, they can create a path or a bridge between the virtual NIC and the physical NIC on the virtual machine manager hardware, and this allows the virtual machine to communicate like any other machine within the LAN. All right, now let's get into some of this outstanding check on learning, shall we? So the first question is, a cloud computing service model offering remote access to applications based on a monthly or annual subscription fee is called what? Is this platform as a service, software as a service, infrastructure as a service, or data as a service? So which of these comes with a monthly or annual subscription fee? And the correct answer is, that would be software as a service. Next question. In cloud computing, the practice of grouping together computing resources and making them available for shared access for multiple consumers is referred to as what? Broad network access, measured service, on-demand self-service, or resource pooling. So the practice of grouping together computer resources and making them available for shared access for multiple consumers is known as, this would be resource pooling. Next question. Which of the following cloud service types would be the best option for a web developer intending to create an app? Would it be data as a service, software as a service, platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service? So which of these will be the best option for a web developer who is looking to create an app? And the correct answer is, it will be a platform as a service. Why? Because the web developer doesn't have to worry about maintaining and upgrading the actual infrastructure. All he or she would have to do is just essentially log in and get busy creating an app and let their hosting company worry about maintaining everything else. So in summary, we have talked about cloud computing concepts such as everything listed on your screen in front of your eyes. Now, if you felt like you've gotten something valuable out of this information, go ahead and hit the like button, share button, drop a comment, but most importantly, subscribe to this channel. Also, go check out my website, Technology G, so that you can get read up on the latest and greatest to help you successfully pass the CompTIA Network Plus N10-007 certification. And until next video, ladies and gentlemen, peace.